Everyone's talking about AI and most of it is just noise. So I'm going to ignore all of that and just tell you the 3 tools that I would actually use if I was running a small business today. So not a tech company, not a startup, a real business. Most likely you're a service-based business, you're probably owner operated, and you're probably pretty busy. So there will be no hype here. There's no talk of the future is coming. There's just 3 tools and what they actually do and why they're worth your time. Tool number 1, we have Claude or ChatGPT. Now this I'm sure does not come as a surprise. If I was to pick one, I would pick Claude over ChatGPT, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're just going to pick one. If you're really after some guidance, then if you're just starting out, go for ChatGPT. It's cheaper, and I think it's just overall an easier platform to use and navigate as a beginner. And if you're not, and you want to be ahead of the curve and use what other AI techs in the space are using, then go down the path of Claude. Right, so let's break down some tips with these. I know everyone knows about these, and most people are using them wrong. So people are treating it like a search engine. They type in a question, they get an answer, they close the tab. But we are not maximizing its fullest potential if we're just doing that. So number 1, we're going to use it for all of our writing. So every email that takes you more than 2 minutes to write, paste it into Claude or ChatGPT and let it write it for you. This could be things like writing a quote or replying to, say, a difficult client, or maybe writing a job ad. Just anytime you're sitting there wondering what to write, that's your opportunity to use AI. These are my favorite types of wins to get people into AI and encourage them to start using it every day. It's those small moments where you can start seeing it in action and then see how it can overall increase the workflow. Right, another favorite one is thinking through problems. So this is one that people often miss. If you have a decision to make, whether it's a pricing change in your business, a new service, maybe a new type of client you want to go for, if there's just a situation where ideally you need a soundboard to kind of talk through that, then Claude, ChatGPT are great options for this right here. You can also ask it to push back on your thinking as well. So say if you have a new idea that you really want to implement in the business, you can go to it and say, here's where I'm at so far, but come back to me and look for holes or points that I'm missing, blind spots, and give me a detailed explanation as to what I can do to fix them. The response that you'll get, especially after using a prompt system like this for a long time, will be great. Third thing we can use this for is content. So if you're posting anything online, so say if you have Facebook, Instagram, Google My Business profile, your website, doesn't matter what it is, but if you describe what you want it to say and give it some guidelines in terms of your brand voice, you don't need to worry about having a full file to give it of what your brand voice is. You can just say something as simply as make it sound professional and clean, or make it sound more casual and down to earth. Yeah, Claude is about 20 USD a month, so maybe about $40 in New Zealand dollars, and ChatGPT is a little bit cheaper. They do have some smaller plans as well, but either one of them will save you that time within like the first week of using it. So just start with one of them. Now, this is tool number 2, Make.com. This one is a lot less well known, but it's where things can start to get really interesting. So Make.com is a workflow automation tool. So the basic idea is when something happens in one app, something automatically happens in another app. Another way I like to describe it is looking at it like the glue that holds 2 apps together and allows them to connect and talk to each other. Right, so let me give you some real examples of what I've used Make.com for. So let's say someone fills out a contact form on your website, and instead of that just waiting in your inbox for you to check it, we can connect 2 apps, so again that glue together. Then we would connect a CRM to that workflow, and suddenly we have this chain here going on. So we've gone from the contact form right through to a task, so a job being added to your CRM as a result of this contact form. So we've just automated a step that you would usually do manually. Then on the end of that, we can also add a text alert. So you would then get a text notification come through. So instead of just relying on those email notifications, most of them kind of get blurred out anyway. You can just set it up to have a really clear text sent to you and have it that way. Another great example is, let's say you have marked a job as completed in your CRM. So we would set up a workflow connected there in Make.com to then send a review request straight away to the client. So not a manual step that you would have to do anymore. Most of the time it gets forgotten about anyway. This would just be automated. So as soon as that job is marked as paid, then the review request gets sent out. Another great example is you can do the missed call alert in Make.com. So if you get a missed call, then an SMS gets sent to that number, the person that called you, saying just, sorry, I missed you. I'll call you back shortly. Now, none of these require code. Make.com is a very easy platform to navigate, and I highly recommend it to anyone that does want to look more into automation and just understanding how they can connect those tools together and start to automate that workflow in their business more. It's as simple as dragging and dropping the connectors together, and most of the popular sort of automations will have templates. So you can kind of just go in and pick something that you like. The hard part is already done. You just need to add your personal details to connect it up. But yeah, I'd always choose Make.com over any of the others. It's got a very generous free tier to it, and the interface is just one of the cleanest that I've used so far. But my honest 2 cents on Make.com is there is a learning curve. So that first automation you build, it will take longer than you expect. But again, the second one that you do will take half that time, and the third half of that as well. So once you've got it going and you've learned the interface and you understand what you're working with, then you're on a roll. But this is the perfect tool for anyone that really wants to get into that mind frame of how can I start to automate more things in my business. And again, once you kind of see how you can connect certain apps together and get them to talk to each other, then it just opens up a world of what else can we be automating here. Tool number 3, which is an absolute favorite of mine, is the missed call text back system. Now, the reality of this is just service businesses miss phone calls, and whether it's because you're on a job or you're driving or you're busy, it doesn't matter. But if someone calls and they get nothing back, they are most likely just going to pick up the phone and call the next person on Google. But the missed call text back fixes that. So the moment someone calls your number and you can't answer, then they'll automatically get sent a text message saying, hey, sorry, I missed you. Leave your details here and I'll call you back. And that one message just keeps that lead alive. It keeps them warm. They get a reply. They have somewhere to keep the conversation going. And all of a sudden, they're not calling your competitor. The missed call text back system is something that I sell in my business for AI and automation. And it's probably one of the most popular services that I sell. I'm not even kidding. If you have a business and you've ever answered the phone and had a lead come through, you need this product. Having something like a missed call text back set up just means that you don't have to answer the phone all the time, or you don't have to rely on answering the phone all the time. And honestly, if I could have that privilege every day, I would. For a service business, this is probably the highest ROI automation you can add. And you're not even changing how you work. You're just making sure the phone not being answered doesn't cost you work. One of the main issues I ran into though when setting this up is New Zealand has some pretty strict laws around basically sending unsolicited text messages and also purchasing New Zealand phone numbers to be able to use to send those messages. So the best option that I can recommend for this is Twilio. And you can't buy a New Zealand cell phone number on Twilio, but you can buy a landline number. So what you do is get your cell phone, so your work phone, and you figure out, depending on what provider you have, so Spark, 1, 2 degrees, exactly what you need to set up for call forwarding. Then you connect it up, so your cell phone number goes to your landline number that you just purchased in Twilio, and then that's where you run the automation off for the missed call text back. Then to actually be able to send the text that says, sorry, we've missed you, you need to set up a SMS provider with a short code. And that sounds really confusing, but I promise it's not that hard. I would recommend using Curiosity. That's who I use when I set this feature up, and it is a really good company. I've had no issues with them. But otherwise, if you just Google SMS short code New Zealand providers, then you'll be able to find a couple of other ones as well. All right, so that is all 3 of the tools that I would recommend. We've had Claude or ChatGPT for your thinking and your writing. We have Make.com for connecting your tools and automating all of that repetitive stuff in the business, and the missed call text back. So if you ever miss a call, it's not going to cost you a job again. This channel is all about making AI tips for small service businesses simple and just easy to understand. So if that's what you're interested in, then keep following along.